Hey everyone, this is Nomir. Alright, so I'm doing a new playlist on Pathfinder role-playing system. I've pre-recorded the first video on ability scores, but I'm having to redo part of the intro, so you may notice that the light changes in a little bit when where the two videos merge. I decided to do this because I like D&D. I have a decent amount of experience playing it. Not so much as a dungeon master, though. Pathfinder, I have more experience on both sides of it, and I feel that there's not quite enough relevant content for Pathfinder players playing the original system. I know Pathfinder 2 is in playtest at the moment. Now, Dawnforged Cast has a wonderful video series devoted to player creation and learning about basics. But I felt that there was a lot of filler. I mean, I liked the way that he did it, doing it for a newbie, doing it with a newbie. But I liked the videos. Just I felt they could have been better. I have nothing against him. Guy is a great creator. He's a great. He really knows the games. He started out Pathfinder, and he's transitioned into D&D. I think he's doing a little bit of Pathfinder too. But whether or not his content level on that goes up after playtest is done is to be seen. This video right now is the start of a character creator series. I'm going to focus on, I'm going to take a section of the character creation, the process, brain fart. I'm going to take a section of the character creation process for each video. After I do the video, I will do closer looks on specific races, specific classes, specific game mechanics, specific enemies, this, that, and try and offer some ideas for new players that want to do something a little unorthodox, but I want them to be able to understand the basics first. So this video is going to focus on ability scores. This is right here. Now, if you go out and buy the player handbook, this information is going to be in there. I have a copy of the player's handbook in PDF format. I have several. I'm not going to rate that right now. This is the Pathfinder player handbook. So yes, I've got that, and I will be referencing the pages that you can find this information that I discuss on, but I'm going to be gathering this information from this website. This is D20 Pathfinder SRD, or D20PFSRD.com. So our first priority is generating our ability scores. So ability scores are the base of how well you perform. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on each one, just give you an idea of what they do. Generating ability scores, I will do that last. I will go over two different processes for doing that. If you're looking in the physical copy or a digital copy of the player's handbook, this is going to be on page 16. No, my mistake. Starts on page 15. Now, the actual abilities themselves will begin on page 15. So our first ability is Strength. Strength is your physical power. How much you can lift, how much you can carry. Different classes are going to may require a specific level of strength to even be able to perform that class. Fighters, monks, paladins, and some ranger builds focus on strength. Now there are alternate builds for all of these that will focus on different abilities, but strength is pretty key. Now, a character with 0 strength is too weak to move in any way and is unconscious. You don't even have the muscle strength to open your eyes at this point. So, now some creatures, like ghosts, spirits, incorporeal creatures do not possess strength scores. And so, because they're not considered to have 0 strength, they're just considered to have no reference to strength at all. They for strength-based skills and checks, they have a bonus penalty modifier of +0, as though they had just basic strength, which is 10. Now, strength modifiers tend to be for melee attacks, damage rolls using a melee weapon or a thrown weapon, including a sling, which sling is technically a projectile. Well, it's a ranged projectile, but the ammunition is essentially a rock. So rock's going to use strength more than dexterity. There are some exceptions to this. There are some bonuses and penalties to apply. Skills that will use this are climb and swim, or if you just want to use a strength check that doesn't require a specific skill, like breaking down a door. You try to bash through a door with your shoulder, and your strength isn't strong enough, you're probably just going to dislocate your shoulder. But if your strength is high enough, you're probably going to turn it to splinters. Alright, this information is specifically on page 16 of the player handbook. Alright, temporary bonuses are effects. Your ability score will go up and possibly change your ability modifier for a short amount of time. Permanent bonuses do the same thing, but they last over a day. I mean, they could be completely permanent, but anything more than 1 day is considered permanent. Ability damage, if you get sick, you get poisoned, you fail the saving throw on that, then enough times you're going to lose ability. You will lose a point of ability for every one that you fail. Some of this can be recovered, some of it can't. It depends on the type of ability damage and what the recovery rate is. Alright, this is a table of carrying capacity. I will scroll this up slowly so people can get a good look. You can pause a little bit here and there to look at it, or you can go look at it in the book and the website. Alright, dexterity is agility, reflexes, balance. Strength is your ability to move. Dexterity is your ability to move quickly and precisely. Your nimbleness. Rogues use this most frequently. Some other classes may have builds that focus on dexterity, but for the most part, a rogue needs the dexterity. Any character with dexterity score of 0 is incapable of moving, but not unconscious. Low dexterity score could also mean being very clumsy, while a high dexterity score may be graceful. Real world application. Really good ballerinas are very dexterous. They have a high dexterity, and it practically looks like they float across the stage. Alright, dexterity modifiers are going to be applied to ranged attacks, like crossbow, regular bow. Firearm weapons use dexterity. Probably because of recoil. If you're using a firearm, the recoil will offset your precision, and good dexterity will allow you to keep that precision. Some ranged spell attacks do require dexterity also. Your armor class which is essentially your defense, is what is going to use dexterity, because then that is your ability to dodge. Reflex saving throws, also a form of dodging. Say something's landing close to you. Are you able to jump out of the way, dive to one side? Are you able to avoid it? Skills include acrobatics, disable device, escape artist, fly, ride, sleight of hand, and stealth. Now, some of these should be self-explanatory. Disable device, if you need nimble fingers. Sleight of hand, you need nimble fingers. Everything else should be self-explanatory. Bonuses work the same way. Now, this right here is a table you're not going to find in the book, and this is something that I wanted to show. This is custom content to give yourself some ideas of creatures and what their dexterity score is, to give yourself a comparison. So you got the scores, the modifier, creature types that use it, and a description of the range of movement. Alright, Constitution. This is your health. This is your stamina. This is your ability to withstand disease. Constitution bonus that you have will increase your hit points. I forgot to mention dexterity is on page 16. Constitution is on 16. You're going to apply your character's Constitution mod to hit dice, whatever you roll, when you roll to get more hit points out of level up, and fortitude saving throws. If you have a Constitution score of 0, you are dead. Point blank dead. Now, there are some creatures that are considered to not have Constitution. It's not that they have a score of 0, it's just they do not have any kind of basis for Constitution, such as undead and constructs, which we've got our temporary permanent bonuses, which again do the exact same thing. Some notes here: constructs don't have a Constitution scores. Any difficulty checks or stats that rely on Constitution score will treat a construct as having a score of 10. No bonus, no penalty, so it is just a modifier of 0. Undead do not have it. Instead, they use Charisma for their hit points and Fortitude, and etc. Again, custom content on Constitution scores and creatures with them. You can go over that. Alright, intelligence. Now, intelligence can be found, starts on page 15 and finishes on page 17. Yeah, none of these sections are very large. Intelligence is strength of mind. It is, strength isn't necessarily natural. You work on it. Lift weights, do this, do that work your muscles, you build your strength. Intelligence, you study, you research, you learn, you increase your intelligence. The intelligence score is how well you learn and reason. Wizards primarily use this because they have to study their magic. Their magic's not natural to them like a sorcerer. It's not given to them like a warlock or a priest. They have to put in hard work. You have to have an ability score of at least 3 to understand spoken language. Creature with intelligence score of 0 is comatose. Now, there are, just like with some of the previous abilities we looked over, some creatures do not possess an intelligence score, and as a result, they have a +0 modifier to their intelligence. Now, you apply your intelligence modifier to bonus languages that you get at the beginning of the game. If you're human, you're going to get common. Common is essentially the language that everyone speaks. They may not... See, in the real world, common varies from region to region, and sure, the dialect of common is going to change, but think of common as the language of humans that everyone knows. While races have their own personal languages, elf, gnome, goblin, dwarf, demons have infernal, devils have abyssal, kind of things. Now, these are different things you can learn based on your language modifier, your intelligence modifier. Now, if you have a penalty, you can still read and speak your racial languages unless your intelligence is lower than 3. Now, number of skill points gained each level goes up per intelligence modifier. So if your if your class gives you +4 and your intelligence modifier is a +2, you're going to get 6 skill points to use, which we'll go over that in skills. I will be going over modifiers whenever I am generating ability scores for the character I am creating in this walkthrough. Now, skills that use intelligence: appraise, craft, knowledge, linguistics, and spellcraft. Spellcraft I will explain in detail when we're going over skills. Linguistics literally is the amount you get a base amount of languages. You get your race. You get bonus languages for your modifier. If you put a point in linguistics, you get another language. Linguistics checks are to make sure that you know the particular language and that you can decipher things that may not necessarily be read. Knowledge is a vast array of things, but it is not all knowledge checks are, regardless of the topic, is going to use intelligence, which is understandable. Craft and appraise should be self-explanatory, but we'll go over that in the skills video. Wizards also gain bonus spells based on their intelligence score. Minimal intelligence score needed to cast a wizard spell is 10 plus the spell's level. So a level 1 wizard has to have an ability score of 11 to be able to cast their level 1 spells. A level 5 with a wizard with 5th level spells will have to have a score of 15 to be able to cast spells at that level. Again, we have some notes here about creatures with scores of 1 or 2. Regular plants are considered to not have wisdom, intelligence, or charisma. Vermin do not have an intelligence score, so they have immunity to mind effects like charms, compulsions, etc. Another table of custom content. Feel free to pause and look at this, or just go directly to the SRD link below to see this. All right, wisdom. Wisdom. All right. As I said, the intelligence is strength of the mind. It is trained. You can train it. You can improve it through hard work. Wisdom is more of the dexterity of the mind. See, you don't necessarily train it, but it improves based on your general experience in life. So as you get older, you experience new things, you become wiser. This is your willpower, your common sense, your awareness, your intuition. Clerics and druids use this because their magic is given to them by an external source, and their wisdom also counts as their connection to that force. Druids, it may be their god, it could be nature as a whole, it could be specific forces of nature. Clerics, it is their god. Whatever the cleric worships is the source of their power. Monks and rangers have it also. Rangers do have magic, but their magic isn't based off of their wisdom. But rangers spend a lot of time in nature, so they become wise in the things that you can't really study. So they become wise by gaining knowledge in things that you really can't study and increase intelligence on. If you want your character to have acute senses, put a high score in wisdom. Every creature has a wisdom score. A creature with a wisdom score of 0 is incapable of rational thought and is unconscious. Now, that every creature has a wisdom score is actually misleading, because as we read above, and as you see at the bottom of the screen, regular plants do not have wisdom. You're going to apply your wisdom modifier to will saving throws. This is your ability to negate effects such as charm. If someone's trying to exert their will over you, you make a will saving throw to resist that and possibly exert your own will over them in the process. Skills include heal, perception, profession, sense motive, and survival. All of those should be self-explanatory. Clerics, druids, and rangers get bonus spells based on their wisdom scores. Minimum score needed to cast is 10 plus spells level. I think I might have said that rangers didn't use their wisdom, and that might be misleading. Anyway, custom content for the wisdom modifier. Charisma. Yeah, I was mixing up the Rangers with something else. Simple mistake. Current time is essentially 4 a.m. while I'm recording this. So, charisma measures character's personality and magnetism. Your ability to speak to people. And how you carry yourself. What people see when they look at you. Paladins, sorcerers, and bards use this most frequently. Clerics use it for channel energy. As mentioned before, undead use charisma for their hit points. Every creature has a charisma score, except for plants, obviously, as we discussed. A character with a charisma score of 0 is not able to exert himself in any way and is unconscious. You apply your charisma to bluff, diplomacy, disguise, handle animal, intimidate, perform, and use magic device. Again, if any of that's not clear, we will go over that in skills. Checks that represent attempts to influence others, such as charisma allows you to exert your will on to others, which, like bluff, diplomacy, and intimidate are all ways of influencing others. Channel energy, difficulty checks for clerics and paladins attempting to harm undead foes. Bards, paladins, and sorcerers require at least a 10 plus spell level to cast their spells, and they get bonus spells based on their charisma scores. Again, bonuses and ability damage, plants, custom content. Alright, bonus, this is condensed of everything about the bonuses, all of the scores together. Ability score damage, ability score penalties. Some spells and abilities cause you to take ability penalty for a limited amount of time. While in effect, these penalties function just like ability damage, but they cannot cause you to fall unconscious or die. In essence, penalties cannot decrease your ability score to less than 1. Ability drain actually reduces the relevant score ability. Modify all skills and statistics related to that ability. This might cause you to lose skill points, hit points, and other bonuses. Ability drain can be healed through the use of spells such as restoration. Alright, so now, here. Alright, this is abilities. These are spellcasters and modifiers. Now, base. Alright, base score is for of 10, has no modifier. 11 is considered average also. If you want, now, every 2 points thereafter, you get a modifier of +1, and modifiers are added to any rolls. A roll is your chance of success or failure. Higher modifiers mean a higher chance of success. So you roll a d20 and you get a 15, and you've got a score of 17. So that 15 is going to get a +3, and it's an 18. Sometimes your rolls, the modifier is not going to matter. Sometimes your modifier is going to be enough to push you over success rate. I mean, this will be skill checks. This will be ability score checks, like the strength check. This will be attack rolls. This will be a lot of different things that you go over. So, As I said, dice rolls are your chance. In the real world, there's always a chance of failure. You could do something every day and always get it right. You're having a bad day, you're feeling sick, you mess up. There's always that chance of failure. The dice roll represents that chance. Alright, now, standard way of generating ability scores is to roll 4d6 and discard the lowest die result. A lot of game masters will also tell you, if you roll a 1 or a 2, re-roll those. That way none of your scores are super low. Because if you don't drop those, then your lowest score could be a 3. And as a player character, any of your scores down to a 3 could be the death of your character. Now, the reason you only take 3 of those 4 is because the highest you can start with is 18. And if anything, if you were to take more than that, then you would end up, if you were to take all 4, you could have 24 at most. Yeah, no one starting with 24 at level of any ability at level 1. 1, maybe 2 scores at 18 is acceptable, but it's not common. Anything more than that, and your game master may tell you to modify them, to lower them a bit, just to balance the character a bit better. Classic is the same way, except you're just taking 3 dice in total. Now, heroic and dice pool, I don't usually use these, but that's I may go over those in another video, just for people that want to understand more ways. But for this character, I'm going to be using the purchase or point buy system. Each character receives a number of points to spend on increasing their basic attributes. This method, all attributes start at a base of 10, and character will increase the individual score by spending some of their points. Likewise, you can gain more points to spend on them by decreasing 1 or more ability scores. No score can be reduced below 7 or raised above 18 using this method. Now, let's see, this right here, ability score cost, is how you determine how many points you spend or you gain for an increase or a decrease. Now, I've already got this memo set up right here. Alright, I've got a pool of 15 points and everything at 10. So, alright, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make my strength, I'm going to go ahead and make my strength 12. So 12 means plus 2. I do have the table open on a different device while I'm doing this, and that gives me so that becomes a 13 to use. My dexterity, I think I'm going to make my dexterity I'm going to do +1 and make that 11. So that gives me 12 left in my pool. Constitution. Constitution, I'm going to use 5. And this actually makes it a 14. Because if you're curious about it, go back and just go back and look at the ability score cost. Alright, so spending 5, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. That leaves me with 7. You know what, I'm going to drop my intelligence down to 8. So like 10 minus 2 is 8, and that gives me a total of 9 points in my pool. I'm going to plus 5 in my plus 5 in this leaves me 4. I'm going to go ahead and make this a 13, which is a plus 3. That leaves me 1, and I think I'm gonna take that 1, and I'm going to we're going to go ahead and take that 1 here and turn my dexterity into a 12. And this is what my scores are going to be. Alright, so sorry, I'm putting this in on the other device, that way I can transfer them without bouncing back and forth. So now in my PDF, which this is a fillable PDF. Alright, my strength is 12, my dexterity is 12, my constitution is 14, my intelligence is 8, my wisdom is 13, and my constitution, my charisma is 14. Alright, so if you looked at the modifiers with me, 10 and 11 have a 0. Now, we have a modifier of 1 on 12 and 13. We have a modifier of 2 on 14. And we have a modifier of -1 for 8. So this is our ability scores going forward. And this is going to help us determine what we're going to build our character on in the upcoming videos in this series. Oh, alright, that was my phone. Yeah, I love Doctor Who too, if you were wondering what that ringtone was from. But, yeah. So, in the next video, we will go over races. We'll go over the core races that you can find in the player handbook. But for now, this should be enough to not overwhelm you. I will catch you in the next video. Later.